She said my name like it meant something. Like it had weight. The first time I heard her voice, it wasn't the words that caught me, it was the way she paused between them, as if tasting what she shouldn't say. She stood by the window, light brushing across her face, turning every line of age into something quietly beautiful. Not hidden. Not ashamed. Just there. I'd seen her before, of course, passing through the office, a file in her hand, her heels marking time against the floor. But that afternoon, everything felt slower. The air heavier. Like the room had been waiting for something to begin. She turned, met my eyes, and smiled, not the practiced kind. The small, uncertain one that slips out before you catch it. You shouldn't be here this late, she said. I know, I replied. But I didn't want to leave yet. She didn't answer. Just looked at me for a moment too long, that kind of silence that feels almost like touch. There was nothing remarkable about where we stood, just papers, coffee rings, the hum of the vending machine down the hall. Yet, in that ordinary noise, I heard the sound of her breathing. Slow. Careful. Like she was holding something in. She reached for her mug, her hand brushing mine by accident, or maybe not. Warm skin, brief contact, and the world fell a little quieter. You're too young to be working this hard, she said. I almost laughed. You sound like my mother. She smiled again, softer this time. That's not what I meant. There was something else in her tone, something careful. A thread of curiosity neither of us dared pull. Her perfume was faint, the kind that doesn't announce itself but lingers just enough to make you look back. I remember thinking that she smelled like rain before it starts, calm, certain, inevitable. She walked past me, close enough that her shoulder brushed my arm. Just a whisper of movement, but it stayed, echoing under my skin. I'll lock up, she said. I nodded, though I didn't move. I watched her reach for the light switch, the glow from the window tracing her wrist, the curve of her neck. There was a ring on her finger, not new, not polished, but she didn't wear it like it mattered. When she noticed me still standing there, she tilted her head. What? Nothing, I said. Just thinking. About what? You, slipped out before I could stop it. Her breath caught, just a fraction, but enough. She turned back toward me, the dim light drawing half her face in shadow. That's dangerous, she whispered. I know. Neither of us moved. The distance between us was small, but it felt like an edge. A place you don't cross unless you're ready for what's waiting. Outside, rain began tapping softly against the glass, filling the space between words. I could smell it now, fresh, clean, full of something that wanted to begin. She reached for her coat, her fingers trembling slightly as she buttoned it. You should go home, she said, her voice lower now. I don't want to, I said. For a second, she looked at me the way people look at something they've already decided they'll lose. A quiet, knowing look that said don't make me want this too. The lights flickered once. The hum of the building faded. And then, a sharp knock on the door. She froze. I did too. Her eyes met mine again, wide now, almost afraid. Don't say anything, she whispered. The handle turned, the knock that night came from a janitor, a harmless interruption that broke the air between us like glass. She'd smiled, relieved, thanked him, and then left before I could say another word. But I kept thinking about her afterward. About the tremor in her voice when she whispered, "Don't say anything." I told myself it was nothing, that I'd imagined the charge between us, but it followed me everywhere. Her perfume on the folder she'd handed me. Her handwriting on the margins of a report. Every little trace of her stayed longer than it should have. The next morning, I found her in the break room, pouring coffee. She didn't look up. Just said, "You're early," as if she'd expected me. Couldn't sleep, I said, trying to sound casual. She stirred her cup slowly. That's dangerous. Coffee on an empty heart. I smiled at the phrasing. You mean stomach? She glanced up, finally meeting my eyes, a small curve at her lips. I meant what I said. Her tone was light, but her fingers tightened around the mug. I noticed that. She was always careful with her words, but her hands gave her away. When I reached for the sugar, my knuckles brushed hers. Just a second, but she didn't pull away. Not right away. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was heavy, like a shared secret we hadn't chosen yet. She set her mug down and turned slightly toward me. You shouldn't look at me like that. Like what? Her eyes flicked up, then down again. Like you don't know better. I almost laughed, but the sound died before it came out. Maybe I don't. That made her pause. Something softened in her expression, the part of her that wasn't supervisor, or composed, or safe. Then, quietly, she said, I was married once. Her voice trembled at the edge of the words, but she didn't look away. He left? I asked. She nodded. 3 years ago. Said I'd stopped being exciting. A hollow laugh escaped her. Imagine that. I don't have to, I said. I can't picture you being anything but, don't, she interrupted, a little too quickly. Don't say things you'll regret later. Her tone was firm, but her shoulders sank. For the first time, I noticed how tired she looked, not from work, but from being careful all the time. I wanted to tell her I wasn't afraid of regret, but instead I said, you shouldn't drink coffee alone. She looked up again, eyes searching mine for something she didn't want to find. Then she reached out, slowly, and brushed an invisible thread off my sleeve. Her fingertips lingered there, just long enough to feel deliberate. You should go before someone sees, she murmured. I didn't move. Neither did she. The clock ticked somewhere behind us, counting out the seconds we both pretended not to notice. Then she whispered, barely audible, you make it hard to keep my distance. Her hand dropped away, and she turned toward the door. But this time, she didn't walk out. She stayed at IT. Started with a late night again, unplanned, like the first one. The rest of the team had gone home hours ago, but she stayed behind to finish a report. I told myself I was just helping, that it didn't mean anything. Her office light glowed faintly through the frosted glass. I knocked once. Come in, she said, without looking up. She was leaning over her desk, hair falling loose around her face, glasses low on her nose. I'd never seen her that way before, undone, unguarded. The sight alone made my pulse skip. You shouldn't be here, she murmured. You keep saying that, I said, and I keep coming back. That earned me the smallest smile. That's what worries me. I stepped closer to hand her a file. Our fingers touched, a familiar spark, sharp and soft all at once. She didn't pull away this time. Thank you, she said, barely above a whisper. Her perfume lingered between us, something floral and quiet. The sound of the rain outside filled the silence. You're always here late, I said. It's easier than going home, she admitted, eyes still on the paper. Something in her voice, the fatigue, the honesty, hit deeper than I expected. Do you ever wish someone was waiting? She looked up, startled by the question. Then softer, that's a dangerous thing to want. Maybe, I said. But you still want it. For a second, the air between us thickened. Her breath hitched, almost imperceptibly. I could feel the warmth from her skin, the faint tremble of her hands still holding the pen. Then, the shrill ping of her phone. She froze. The screen lit up with a name. She quickly flipped face down. It's nothing, she said too fast. But her shoulders stiffened. Whoever it was, whoever still had that place in her life, it mattered. I stepped back, breaking the spell. You don't have to explain. She looked at me, long enough for the words to mean the opposite. You shouldn't care. I can't help it. Her eyes softened, and then she looked away. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Then tell me to stop. She didn't. Instead, she stood, slow, deliberate. The chair scraped softly against the floor. When she passed me, the fabric of her sleeve brushed my arm. She stopped behind me, close enough that I could feel the heat of her breath near my neck. "I can't afford to want this," she whispered. I turned, meeting her eyes. "Then don't call it want." Her lips parted, but no sound came. A heartbeat passed. Then another. The tension broke when the door creaked open. "Ms. Clark?" A coworker's voice, hesitant. We sprang apart, too fast, too obvious. "Sorry," she said quickly, adjusting her blouse. "Just reviewing a file." The coworker nodded, oblivious, and left. Silence again. Her hand found the edge of the desk, gripping it hard. I could see her pulse racing in her throat. "This has to stop," she said. I nodded. But neither of us moved away. Instead, she took one small step closer, and whispered, "Just, not yet." The next few days were unbearable. We didn't talk much, just exchanged small glances in the hallway, careful, guilty, charged. Every time I passed her office door, I felt the pull like gravity, like a secret the walls already knew. Then one evening, she asked me to stay. "There's something we need to go over," she said, her tone clipped, professional. But when I walked in, she wasn't behind her desk. She was by the window, her hands pressed against the glass, watching the rain slide down the pane. "I can't keep pretending this doesn't mean something," I said quietly. Her reflection met mine in the window. "You shouldn't say things like that." "I already did." She turned then, slowly, her face unreadable, half light, half shadow. "You don't understand," she said. "If anyone finds out, if this becomes something, I could lose everything. You're not the only one risking something." She laughed, but it was brittle. "You'll recover. You're young. You'll move on. Is that what you want me to do?" Her silence was answer enough. I stepped closer, close enough that I could feel the warmth radiating off her. She didn't move. Not back, not forward. Just stood there, breathing shallowly, her pulse visible at her throat. "I see the way you look at me," I said softly. "You don't have to hide it anymore." Her eyes flicked up, wet now, angry at herself more than me. "You think this is easy for me," she whispered. "You think I don't wake up every morning telling myself not to feel what I feel?" I swallowed, hard. "Then stop fighting it." Her lips parted, and before she could answer, I reached up, slowly, giving her time to pull away, and brushed a strand of hair from her face. My fingers grazed her cheek, her skin warm and trembling under my touch. She closed her eyes. "Don't," she whispered. But she didn't move. The rain outside grew heavier, the sound filling every silence we didn't break. My hand lingered near her jaw, her breath caught, uneven. She leaned in, just enough that I could feel it, the faintest shift, the kind you only notice because you're already too close. "I've spent years building walls," she said, voice trembling. "You're tearing through them like they were never there." I didn't know what to say. I just whispered, "Then let me in." Her hand found my chest, pressing lightly, not to push me away, just to steady herself. "This isn't fair," she said, eyes glistening. "You make me feel alive again, and I don't know what to do with that." Her words hit like a confession. The air felt charged, fragile, electric. She looked up, searching my face for permission, or maybe for reason to stop. Her breath brushed my lips. Every instinct screamed to close the distance. Then, a sound. A phone vibrating on the desk. She froze. I didn't move. The name flashed again on her screen. The same one as before. Her eyes darted to mine, torn, raw, exposed. "I can't do this," she whispered. But she didn't step back. And neither did I. The message on her phone changed everything. I didn't mean to look, I swear I didn't. But when the screen lit up again, the words were impossible to ignore. "Dinner tonight?" We need to talk about us. I stepped back before she noticed, pulse hammering in my ears. She picked up the phone, her thumb hovering over the reply, but she didn't type. Just stared at the screen, her shoulders tightening like she'd been caught in a lie she hadn't spoken yet. Finally, she set the phone down. You saw that, didn't you? I didn't answer. It's not what you think, she said quickly. Then tell me what it is. Her voice was steady, but her hands weren't. He's my ex-husband. The word ex didn't sound final. He still calls sometimes, she continued, quieter now. Not because he loves me, because he doesn't know how to stop pretending we're still something. So why not block him? I asked. She let out a breath, slow, careful. Because part of me still wants to hear his voice. To prove to myself that it doesn't hurt anymore. That hit harder than I expected. I stepped closer, searching her face for something honest, something just for me. And does it still hurt? Her eyes flicked up, raw and unguarded. Not until you. Silence. Just rain and the hum of the old radiator filling the space between us. She moved past me, brushing my arm on the way. Not an accident, never an accident. Her scent lingered. You shouldn't look at me like that, she said, but her voice trembled now. I don't know how else to. Her breath caught, and for a moment, I saw her defenses crack, all that practiced composure slipping into something fragile. You think I'm brave, she whispered. But the truth is, I'm terrified. I don't know who I am around you. I took another step forward until we were inches apart. Maybe that's the point. She turned toward me then, and the tension shifted, no longer about the phone, or her past, or even right and wrong. It was about this, the unbearable closeness that neither of us could name without losing everything. Her hand lifted slightly, like she wanted to touch me but couldn't give herself permission. You have no idea what this would cost me, she said. I'm not asking for everything, I whispered. Just honesty. Her lips parted, a breath, a confession about to break free, when the office door creaked open again. Ms. Clark? It was her assistant this time, startled to see me standing there. Her body stiffened, the mask sliding instantly back into place. Yes, she said briskly. The assistant mumbled something about a client call and disappeared, but the damage was done. The air between us had changed, hotter, tighter, dangerous. She turned to me, eyes sharp with fear and want tangled together. This isn't just about us anymore, she said. If anyone finds out, then what? She hesitated, then stepped closer, her voice breaking on the edge of a decision. Then I'll have to choose. Her hand brushed my chest, trembling. And I don't know if I'll choose right. The phone buzzed again. Neither of us moved. This time, she didn't reach for it. The rain had stopped, but the room still smelled like it, damp air, heavy and electric, the kind that clings to your skin. She stood by the desk again, the same place where all of this began, her hand hovering over the phone still buzzing quietly against the wood. Neither of us moved. You should go, she said finally, though her voice lacked conviction. Do you want me to? Her jaw tightened. That doesn't matter. It does to me. She turned, meeting my gaze, tired, torn, beautiful in a way that hurt to look at. You think this is simple. That it's just feeling something and giving in. But you don't know what it costs a person to start over at my age. I stepped closer, slow, deliberate. Maybe I don't. But I know what it costs to walk away. Her eyes flickered, glassy now. You'll move on, find someone who doesn't make you hide. Stop deciding that for me. She froze, her breath catching. I was close enough now to feel the warmth of her skin, the faint scent of rain in her hair. Say it, I whispered. If you want me gone, say it. Her hand trembled as she reached out, fingers brushing my sleeve, barely there. You make it sound so easy. It isn't, I said. That's why it matters. The silence between us tightened, became something alive. She looked up, her voice breaking. You don't understand. He already knows. My ex. He called the office. He said he's seen us. The words hit like cold water. What? I thought it was coincidence, she said, stepping back, her breath uneven. But he knows. He'll tell people. And I'll lose everything I've built. I reached for her hand, but she pulled away. You can't fix this, she whispered. Not this time. I don't care who knows, I said. I care about you. Her laugh came out sharp, aching. That's exactly why I'm terrified of you. Something in her eyes cracked then, the exhaustion, the longing, the years of pretending not to want more. She took one step forward, closing the distance she'd spent weeks keeping between us. I tried so hard not to feel this, she said, her voice barely a breath. But every time you walk away, it feels like forgetting how to breathe. Her confession landed like a promise and a warning at once. I reached up, cupping her face gently, my thumb tracing the edge of her jaw. Her eyes fluttered shut, her breath trembling against my palm. For one suspended moment, everything else fell away, the noise, the fear, the world waiting outside. Then don't fight it, I whispered. She opened her eyes again, wet and fierce. And if I fall? Then I'll fall with you. The space between us vanished, not a kiss, not yet, but the nearness was enough to make the world stop. Her forehead rested against mine, both of us shaking, breathing the same uneven rhythm. When she finally spoke, her voice was quiet but steady. Then we don't look back. And for the first time, neither of us did. Morning light filtered through the blinds, soft and golden, painting lines across the floor where we stood the night before, too close, too quiet, caught between fear and something that felt dangerously like peace. She was sitting on the couch now, hair undone, coffee cooling beside her untouched. I leaned against the doorway, unsure what words belonged after everything that had already been said. For a long time, neither of us spoke. The silence wasn't heavy this time, it was full. I thought I'd regret it, she said finally, her voice low. Letting you stay. And? She smiled faintly, eyes on the window. I was wrong. I moved closer, slow enough that she didn't flinch. You still think we'll be found out? Probably. She looked up at me then, the same gaze that used to hold back now met mine without fear. But I'm tired of living like everything I want is a mistake. I sat beside her. The couch dipped under our weight, shoulders brushing. It was such a small thing, but it felt like a decision. You make it sound easy, I said. It isn't, she replied, but it's real. She turned her hand over on her lap, the movement hesitant, an unspoken question. I answered by sliding my fingers into hers. Her palm was warm, trembling just a little. We sat like that for a while, letting the quiet do the talking. You know people will talk, I said. They already do, she whispered, smiling sadly. But let them. They've never had to rebuild from nothing. The words carried weight I couldn't touch, years of loneliness, the sharp kind that doesn't show until it's finally broken. I reached up, brushing a loose strand of hair from her cheek. She leaned into the touch, eyes closing, breath steady. You shouldn't look at me like that, she murmured, echoing her old warning. Then stop giving me reasons to. She laughed softly, a sound I hadn't realized I'd been waiting for. When she opened her eyes again, they were clear. Lighter. You know, I used to think love only belonged to the young, she said. That it faded after a certain point, like it was something you outgrew. And now? Now I think it just changes shape. Gets quieter. Truer. I pulled her gently against me, her head finding the space beneath my chin like it belonged there. For the first time, she didn't pull away. My hand rested against her back, her fingers found mine again, and everything felt still. Outside, the city moved on, cars, voices, rain drying on the pavement, but in here, there was only the rhythm of her breathing. We didn't need to promise anything. We'd already made our choice. When she finally spoke again, it was almost a whisper. You were supposed to be a risk, she said. But you became the one place I could finally be still. I smiled against her hair. Guess we both found what we weren't looking for. Her hand tightened around mine, quiet agreement. The light shifted, warmer now, and for the first time, neither of us looked away. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?